Hello everyone, welcome to another video and welcome to another GT Sport opinion piece. I thought I'd put a quick video together discussing the recent pit loss changes, and I'm going to ask the question, are longer pit stops actually better for strategy? So an update came out very recently, sort of middle of February, towards the end of February. A couple of changes to the penalty system, and amongst those changes were adjustments to the time loss for pit stops on various tracks. Now generally what this has meant, and I've not tested a whole lot of them myself, but what I've seen from various forums and discussions is that in general around about 12 to 14 seconds has been added on to the total time of the pit stops for pretty much every track in the game. So let's just see how that looks on the track. So we've got the current daily race at C at the moment, Group 2 at the Red Bull Ring. On the big screen we have the new pit loss. On the top right hand corner we have the old pit loss. So you can see the difference there straight away. Under the old pit loss, the car's already in the box, it's got the tyres changed, it's on its way out the pit lane, and it's actually going to be just about out the pit lane before the car has even made it to the pit crew with the new pit loss. So now the new pit loss, the car's in the box, we're getting the tyres changed, the old pit loss is out onto the track, halfway down the straight towards the hairpin at turn number 3. And all in all, this is amounting to around about a 13-second difference in the pit loss. So it's gone from about 8 seconds to 21 seconds. And to be honest with you, that makes a fairly big strategic change in the way that the sort of daily race Cs are going to play out. Now the question I'm going to ask, and we'll sort of look at it just after this little segment here, is this actually beneficial to the strategy? Now one thing I would like to see them added in with these extended pit stops, rather than just staring at the pit crew, it would be nice to see the car driving into the pit lane, then cut into the animation where it changes the tyres and then driving out the pit lane. I think that would be much more visually pleasing. Now they can actually do this, as you can see here. If you just go into time trial and drive into the pits with tyre wear off, you can remain on the chase cam, on the onboard cam, whatever camera you're on, and actually drive physically down the pit lane. So I'd like to have seen that as an addition, just to, I guess, for a little bit of immersion, but maybe in another update that's something to look at. Hopefully for GT7 that will definitely be a thing. But let's move on to the next subject, and that's basically the question that I've put in the title of the screen, is the new pit loss actually better for strategy? Now of course your immediate answer may well be, of course it's not. These new longer pit stops have effectively ruled out any chance of doing a 2-stop strategy, and to be honest with you, you are correct in that assessment. But let's be honest, I've been doing these strategy guides for quite a long time. Even when the 2-stop strategy is quite viable up against the 1-stop, very few people do it, and by the end of the week everybody's pretty much just doing the 1-stop strategy for the majority of the race. In the rare occasion where the 2-stop strategy is the better strategy, then everybody just does the 2-stop strategy. You very rarely get a week of races where people are using 2 different strategies. So for that reason, I think this new pit loss actually brings a slightly dynamic edge to the strategy that's going to be used, because it basically gives you this much bigger window to use each of the different tyres effectively. Now I'm pretty sure from this point forward the daily race C is always going to have a choice of tyres, and those tyres are always going to be mandatory. Therefore they're going to force you into making that pit stop, and that is definitely what we want to be happening. That is definitely the way forward. Now why do I think this kind of change it to the pit loss, making the pit stops longer, is it better? For one, it's more realistic. Let's be honest, on some of the tracks you're doing 3-4 second pit stops. It just is a little bit silly in my head, and I've always something I could understand why they did it, but it just never really sat very well with me. So that's number one reason why I think this is better. In terms of strategy, I think, as I said, it just gives you that opportunity if you're sort of in the midfield to after 3 or 4 laps to maybe go for something a little bit different. You've got that 21 second pit loss. It's a lot easier to find a gap in the traffic with that kind of pit loss. It also makes a difference to the leaders. If the leaders after 6-7 laps have got like a pit stop in hand, then the race really isn't affected by the rest of the traffic. Under these new pit losses, if they make a pit stop now, they're going to lose 21 seconds. It can put them in the midfield, so it's maybe going to force them to go a bit longer on those tyres. But really that's the big reason. I think, you know, most of these races always come down to one kind of strategy, but I think with the longer pit loss, it gives you that opportunity to be a little bit more dynamic with your tyre selection and your sort of how long you use each variety of tyre, and there's always going to be more gaps to try and filter into. Now let me try and give you an example of that in action. So this is a race that I did on my US account fairly recently. You can see we're in P20 there, Womble Sheriff. We're only at BS on this account. It's a lobby full of A and B drivers. So the race is going to get underway here. We're just going to fast forward through these first few laps. There's quite a lot of chaos over the course of these first few laps. Cars falling off the track. Then another one going there. Yellow flags are out of game. We're up to P16. We're on the hard tyres here, obviously. And we're getting quite lucky because we're not really getting affected by too much of the traffic. But now we've caught up with kind of the back of the midfield. Penalty being served there. Make up another position. We're up into P14. Yellow flags are out, making up another 2 positions there. And we're now up into P12. We've got a sort of big group of cars there in front of us, and I now think, okay, I've got that gap behind me. I can see that I can filter into maybe about P18 here, have lots of clear track in front of me. Get onto these medium tyres. You're thinking, what, 10 laps on the medium tyres? That's a bit much to ask. And I think under the old way it would be, because you would just end up in traffic doing this strategy, and you'd probably end up fighting with drivers you wouldn't normally be fighting with. But we've got a massive pit loss here. So all those drivers that are 6, 7, 8 seconds behind us are going to be well in front of us under these new pit losses. Under the old pit loss, I would just go in amongst them with my fresh tyres, end up fighting with them, not getting the benefit of my fresh tyres, and therefore the strategy just wouldn't work out the same way that it's going to work out in this example that I'm going to show you here. So out we come from the pits, and we're going to filter into P19 behind the Mexican driver in P18 there. It's not ideal, but the Mexican driver is about 3 seconds ahead of us by the time we get to the hairpin. So my kind of thinking here was, well, I am in no particular rush to catch that driver. Let's take it nice and easy over these opening laps on the medium tyres. We do have 10 laps to do. I know I'm going to still be going faster than those drivers in the mid-pack that I pitted from behind, because they're all fighting with each other. So even an easy lap on the medium tyres is going to be quicker than those drivers dicing with each other. And as we jump forward here to lap number 9, as the sort of last of most of the pit stops have been done, we find ourselves up in P number 6. And we haven't really overtaken that many drivers. We've really just jumped them all in the pits whilst they were squabbling on our fresh medium tyres. You can see we've not done any electric laps there from laps 5 to 8. And I can quite easily do 22s on medium tyres, maybe even jump into the 21s, but I wanted to take it really easy over those opening laps, just so I've got some tyres towards the end of the race. So we're up into P5 there, making a nice overtake on, I believe that might be a Costa Rican driver. I could well be wrong with that flag. We've actually got P4 in the pits here. Quite unusually running the hard tyre to lap number 9. This is an A and B S lobby, so sometimes they don't quite run the optimal strategies. Sometimes down the lower lobbies they will run the harder tyre a lot longer than they really need to. But with the pit stops finished, we are now up into 4th place, and we are going to hold on to that 4th place till the end. We do come under a little bit of pressure from Stock Car Racer in P7, but he then dropped back, and then Dead Eye Del Boy of you'll maybe know his YouTube channel, he was also in this race. He had a penalty, which is probably why he's ended up behind us overall in this race. We've got a little bit of pressure from Del Boy towards the end, but we hold on to 4th place with doing a stint of 10 laps on the medium tyres, and it was all just to do with the strategy. We didn't really overtake anyone that much. We did, as I said, we did do a couple of overtakes, but it was really just the strategy. It was making that early pit stop, getting that clear track, being able to actually put in some representative laps, and before we knew it, we were up into 4th place. So hopefully I've given you a demonstration as to how I think these new pit losses could maybe help the strategy. Now it is a bit of a shame that it's probably always going to come down to a 1 stop or a no stop, but I think I quite like this idea of being able to kind of sort of massively vary how you do your 1 stop strategy, and I'm quite looking forward to seeing how some of the races unfold going forward. So that's just been a very quick opinion piece on the new pit loss, why I think it's actually quite a good change for the game. Hopefully you've enjoyed this little piece. If you have, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I shall see you on the next one. Goodbye now.